in a sock and broomstick. That's what 41 juvenile inmates did at Hillsborough Correctional Institution, Florida. Gang members got together and made a lot of locks and socks and got a hold of broomsticks and fought each other. Hello, I'm Gary York, True Prison Stories, and I have another one for you today that involves juveniles. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe. Juvenile inmates have always posed a huge problem for the correctional system in many ways. We always wonder, how are we going to handle them? Are we going to handle them differently than adults? Well, yes, of course we are. But when they go violent on us, how are we going to handle them? What can we do to discipline them without violating the Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment? Well, let me tell you a story that really happened at a prison here in Florida, and what happened to the warden who gave the orders for all these things to occur. Over a period of days, gang inmate juveniles have been fighting in the prison. These are all sentenced as adults now in a state prison. 863 area code from Tampa was fighting 727 area code from Pinellas, and 305 area code Miami was fighting both of them, and North Florida area code was fighting all of them. So they all had their area codes that they used to show what part of the state they're from and what gang they're with, and it got to the point one day where 41 of them finally broke loose with locks and socks, beating each other with broomsticks. It was finally broken up, and the warden came out and had the 41 inmates separated from all the others, the 41 juveniles, and he said, if you're going to act like animals, you will be treated like animals. It was a very bad day, windy, rainy, and lightning. He had the 41 inmates. He ordered his lieutenant and sergeants to get all the inmates out, the 41 inmates involved, and handcuff them to the chain link fence on the rec yard. Yes, they were all handcuffed to the chain link fence while it was raining, while it was thundering, and while it was lightning. And the lieutenant and the sergeants and the officers in control of these 41 inmates stood under the pavilion. I later learned, because I was assigned this investigation, I later learned that they stood under the pavilion and laughed. And the warden gave the order that if any of them continued to talk while handcuffed to the chain-linked fence, pepper spray them. And during the investigation, from other officer testimony, it was learned that the lieutenant ordered his men to pepper spray several of them and said, this ought to shut you up once and for all. And they were left out on the chain link fence with pepper spray. Were not taken to medical. Were not given the cleansing materials to clean the pepper spray off their face. It was also learned during the investigation that they were told, let the rain wash it off your face. We don't give a darn. At the end of the day, from being handcuffed to the chain link fence, the warden ordered them to go to the gymnasium, and they put mats out on the floor of the gymnasium and kept them individually handcuffed and had them sleep on the gymnasium floor that night. Early the next morning, they woke them up, handcuffed them to push mowers. The push mowers are manual. You don't have a motor. And had them mow the entire compound with push mowers. The whole ordeal ordered by the warden took 33 hours straight, from the time the fight was broken up to the time the lawn mowing was done the next day. So 33 hours later, the warden ordered that they go back to their dorms. This prison did not have enough confinement room to confine every single one of them. Some of them that were instigators were placed in confinement. I did my investigation, And during the investigation, the warden was untruthful. He said he was not on the compound during any of the activities. He did not give the orders for this to happen. But guess what, folks? The lieutenant and the sergeants weren't going to go down for this alone. The control room logs that I collected indicated the times and dates that the warden entered the prison compound and left the prison compound. So after he told me he was not on the compound during these incidents, I showed him the control room logs, and he said the control room officer must be wrong. I then let him know of the testimony of his lieutenants and sergeants who said that you directed this to occur in this manner. And he denied that as well. The prison chaplain, we also got statements from him who witnessed the entire incident. He was not happy, of course, with the way they were disciplined. He's not against disciplining juveniles who act in this manner, and neither am I. But this was way overboard and unjustifiable. The Tampa Tribune, the St. Petersburg Times, and the news press got a hold of my investigation, and they published quotes from it. And after all this is said and done, I must say you have to remember the Inspector General's office only reports incidents. They are not in charge of what will happen or what punishment will occur to anyone who violated rules and regulations. So I sent my report to Tallahassee, and I sent it to the State Attorney's Office in Tampa. You got it. No criminal charges filed, and the warden was demoted and moved to another prison as an assistant warden. 3 years later, approximately, when all the fire had burned down and the ashes were gone, the smoke was gone, he was promoted and moved to another prison and made warden at that prison. So I will let you be the judge and jury, not me. I, as a prison inspector, only report my findings. I'm not going to be the one to say what happens after the investigation, and many people need to know that. I think a lot of people do not understand that our job is to only report our findings and present the evidence. It is left up to the higher people in my command to make the final decisions, and it's up to the state attorney. I don't know why the state attorney didn't press any charges. They let the agency take care of the issue. So, with that said, in my one opinion that I'm going to give on this video, I am not allowed to give opinions in my written investigation. No opinions allowed. But I think more should have been done. These inmates needed some discipline, there's no doubt about it, but have to use other types of discipline than this. If one of those juveniles was struck by lightning or died after the pepper spray without medical attention, this would have been a tragedy. You can't do that, folks. Don't lose your job over juvenile inmates. Follow the rules and use the discipline that is given to you in the guidelines. Don't let your emotions take over and do things that could cost you your job or get you demoted. And I'll leave the rest of it up to you on what you think about this. Put your comments at the bottom. This is definitely going to offend people on both sides of the fence. So put your comments down. Tell us what you think. Was the warden right? Was the warden wrong? Should it have been handled differently? Thank you, and please subscribe. True Prison Stories by Gary York, Corruption Behind Bars.